Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the Lunar Defense Station Alpha, her reflection ghosting against the reinforced polycarbon windows. The Earth hung below, a brilliant marble suspended in the void, but her attention was fixed on something else entirely. The holographic display before her showed an anomaly that shouldn't exist. Quantum fluctuations in supposedly empty space, spreading throughout the solar system like a spider's web. "Run the analysis again," she ordered, her voice steady despite the implications unfolding before her. Dr. Marcus Webb, the station's lead quantum physicist, adjusted his neural interface and initiated another scan. "The pattern remains consistent, Admiral," he replied, his augmented eyes processing data streams invisible to others. "These aren't random quantum events. They're coordinated, deliberate. Someone's been watching us, and they've gotten sloppy." The discovery had come 3 days ago, when a routine calibration of the quantum consciousness sensors detected something impossible. A network of observation posts utilizing technology that bent reality itself to remain hidden. It was elegant, sophisticated, and absolutely terrifying in its implications. "How long?" Sarah asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "Based on the decay patterns in the quantum field signatures." Marcus paused, double-checking his calculations. "Centuries, minimum. They've been here since before we split the atom, before we took to the stars." Sarah's hand unconsciously traced the scalar processor implant at the base of her skull, a reminder of how far humanity had come in the last 50 years. From neural interfaces to quantum consciousness integration, they'd made technological leaps that should have taken millennia. Now she understood why. "They'd been guiding our development," she said, the realization hitting her like a physical blow. "All those convenient breakthroughs, the mysterious signals that led to faster-than-light travel." "Not guiding," Marcus corrected, bringing up a new holographic model. "They'd been containing us. Admiral, look at the pattern of the network. It's not just for observation. It's a cage." The hologram expanded, showing the full extent of the alien surveillance system. It surrounded every human outpost, every colony, every mining operation in the solar system. But there was something else, something in the quantum signature that Marcus had been studying for days. "I've made a breakthrough," he said, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "The quantum field they're using, it's based on consciousness. Their entire technology runs on it. But they're using it wrong, inefficiently. They're treating consciousness like a tool, a resource to be harnessed." Sarah turned to face him fully now, recognition dawning in her eyes. "And we've been treating it like what it really is, an emergent property of reality itself." Marcus nodded, bringing up his latest research data. "Human consciousness is different. We don't just observe quantum states. We interact with them, shape them. Every time they watched us, studied us, they were actually teaching us how to see them. And now we can see their cage," Sarah finished. "But why? Why contain us like this?" The answer came in the form of an alert that lit up every console in the station. Quantum disturbances were cascading through the surveillance network, massive ships emerging from what appeared to be empty space. The Concordiat, as they called themselves in the first transmission, had decided that humanity's consciousness had evolved too far. "They're afraid," Marcus said, watching the alien fleet approach. "They've spent millennia building an empire based on controlled consciousness, and we've discovered how to truly set it free." Sarah's neural interface connected with the station's defense systems, feeling them respond to her thoughts like extensions of her own body. Around the Earth, millions of other augmented humans did the same, their collective consciousness beginning to ripple through quantum space in ways the aliens had never imagined possible. "Send word to Earth Command," she ordered, as the first alien ships entered weapons range. "Tell them Operation Silent Thunder is now in effect." "And Marcus," she paused, allowing herself a grim smile, "show them what human consciousness can really do." The battle that followed would reshape humanity's understanding of both reality and their place in it. The Concordiat had come expecting to find a species trapped in their quantum cage. Instead, they found one that had turned their prison into a gateway to possibilities they had never imagined. As the first shots were fired, Sarah couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The very system designed to contain humanity had become the key to their liberation. The quantum consciousness network, built to cage them, would now demonstrate why humanity's greatest strength had always been their ability to transform limitations into opportunities. The war for human consciousness had begun, and the galaxy was about to learn why you should never underestimate a species that had turned the act of breaking free from constraints into an art form. The Concordiat's first wave hit Earth's defenses like a tsunami of impossible physics. Reality itself seemed to bend and warp around their ships as they pushed through conventional defense screens. But humanity wasn't fighting a conventional war. Dr. Marcus Webb stood in the heart of the Neural Defense Grid's primary control center, deep beneath the Himalayas. Around him, 10,000 humans lay in quantum interface chambers, their combined consciousness flowing through the systems he had designed. They weren't just operating weapons, they were becoming them. Pattern recognition at 400% above baseline, reported Dr. Yuki Tanaka, her hands dancing across holographic displays. The collective is adapting to their quantum signatures faster than they can change them. Marcus watched as humanity's shared consciousness painted the battle in his mind. The Concordiat vessels moved like predators, each shift in their quantum state designed to make them untraceable, unknowable. But human consciousness didn't try to track them through normal space-time. Instead, it felt them, predicted them, reached out through quantum fields to touch their very essence. Above Earth's atmosphere, Admiral Chen orchestrated the defense with a precision that left the alien commanders reeling. Human vessels didn't just react to Concordia attacks, they were already moving to counter them before they began. It was as if they figured it out, Marcus said, watching the alien fleet's movements become increasingly erratic. They're realizing we're not just using consciousness as a tool, we're letting it evolve. The neural defense grid had started as a simple concept, connect human minds to better coordinate defense. But something unexpected had happened when they linked 10,000 consciousness streams together. The human mind, it turned out, wasn't limited by traditional physics. When networked together, human consciousness began to explore quantum space in ways the Concordiat had never imagined possible. New contact. Yuki's voice cut through his thoughts. Massive quantum displacement at the edge of the system. The Concordiat's second wave had arrived, but this time they came prepared. Their ships carried devices that should have disrupted any quantum-based technology, including the neural defense grid. Should have. They still don't understand. Marcus smiled, watching as the human collective consciousness simply shifted to new quantum states, adapting faster than the alien disruptors could track. You can't shut down evolution with technology. In orbit, Admiral Chen felt the shift in the battle's tempo. The Concordiat expected their disruptors to blind Earth's defenses. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that had already evolved beyond the need for fixed quantum states. Launch the Echo Protocol, she ordered, her consciousness merged with both her ship and the neural grid. Across Earth's defense network, human minds reached out not just to perceive the enemy ships, but to touch the consciousness of their crews. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Concordiat relied on rigid, controlled consciousness to operate their reality-bending technology. When faced with the chaotic, evolving quantum states of human minds, their carefully maintained systems began to falter. Their ships are dropping out of quantum alignment, Yuki reported, excitement bleeding through her professional demeanor. The collective consciousness it's teaching them how to doubt. Marcus watched as the battle transformed into something beyond traditional warfare. Human consciousness, freed from the constraints the Concordiat had tried to impose, wasn't just defeating their technology, it was changing how they perceived reality itself. Send the signal, he ordered, initiating the next phase of Operation Silent Thunder. Show them what consciousness really is. Through the neural grid, Humanity reached out not to destroy the Concordiate ships, but to share with them the true nature of consciousness. It wasn't a tool to be controlled or a weapon to be wielded. It was a force of nature, as fundamental to reality as gravity or light. The alien fleet's formation began to break apart, not from damage, but from revelation. Ship after ship dropped out of combat as their crews experienced something they had never known: the raw, unfiltered potential of truly free consciousness. They're retreating. Admiral Chen's voice echoed through the command center. But this isn't over. They'll be back. And next time they'll understand what they're really fighting, Marcus finished, and why they can't win through force. As the Concordiate fleet withdrew, leaving behind disabled ships and shattered assumptions, humanity's collective consciousness continued to evolve. The neural defense grid had become more than a weapon. It was becoming a new form of existence, one that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what consciousness could be. The first battle was over, but the war for the future of consciousness had only begun. And humanity, with their unique ability to embrace chaos and transformation, was writing new rules for a game the Concordiate had thought they had mastered millennia ago. Captain Maya Patel stood in the quantum shadow of a Concordiate command ship. Her consciousness spread through the experimental infiltration suit like water soaking into sand. The alien vessel loomed above her team, its hull rippling with reality-bending fields that should have made approach impossible. Should have. Processing their quantum signature, she subvocalized, her augmented mind reaching out to touch the ship's defensive matrix. They've adapted since the last encounter. The consciousness dampeners are more sophisticated. Her team of quantum infiltrators waited in perfect neural silence, their minds trained to exist in the spaces between conventional thoughts. They weren't trying to hide from the Concordiate sensors. They were becoming the gaps in those sensors' perception. New data packet from Dr. Webb, her second in command, Lieutenant James Rodriguez, transmitted through their secure quantum link. The consciousness patterns we collected from the last battle. He's cracked their basic architecture. Maya allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Concordiate had spent millennia developing their consciousness-based technology, believing they had mastered its every aspect. They never imagined that humans would learn to reverse engineer it in weeks. Begin Phase 1, she ordered, and her team's collective consciousness began to shift, matching the frequency of the alien ship's quantum field. It was like learning to speak a new language, but instead of words, they were learning to speak in fundamental forces of reality. Inside the Earth's Quantum Research Division, Dr. Marcus Webb monitored the infiltration team's progress. The data flowing through the neural defense grid told a story that would have been impossible just months ago. Humans weren't just copying Concordiate technology. They were reimagining it. Their consciousness technology is based on stability, he explained to Admiral Chen, who watched through her quantum link. They spent thousands of years learning to control and direct consciousness like a tool. But consciousness isn't meant to be stable. It's meant to grow, to change, to evolve. Sarah finished, watching as Maya's team executed their infiltration with impossible precision. And we're teaching them that lesson the hard way. The infiltration suit Maya wore represented humanity's greatest technological leap yet. It didn't try to shield her consciousness from detection. Instead, it amplified it, allowed it to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. The Concordiate's sensors, designed to detect and contain conscious thought, simply couldn't process what they were seeing. "We're in," Maya transmitted, as her team phased through the command ship's outer hull. The inside of the vessel was a maze of crystalline structures and pulsing energy fields, all controlled by the focused consciousness of its alien crew. Beginning data extraction. But data wasn't their only objective. As Maya's team moved through the ship, their evolved consciousness began to interact with the vessel's systems in unexpected ways. The Concordiate had built their technology to respond to rigid, controlled thought patterns. Human consciousness, wild and adaptive, caused ripples through their systems like stones thrown into a perfectly still pond. Their quantum core is destabilizing. Rodriguez reported, his consciousness reaching out to touch the ship's central systems. They can feel us in their network. We're changing them just by being here. In the Neural Defense Grid's control center, Marcus watched as the infiltration team's presence began to have an unexpected effect. The alien crew's consciousness patterns were shifting, adapting, learning from the human intruders in ways their rigid training never prepared them for. It's not just about stealing their technology, he realized, watching the data streams. Every time we interact with their systems, we're teaching them a new way to think. We're infecting them with evolution, Admiral Chen said, a note of wonder in her voice. Their entire civilization is built on controlled, predictable consciousness. But consciousness isn't meant to be controlled. It's meant to be free. Maya felt it happening around her team. The alien ship's systems, designed to respond only to carefully regulated conscious commands, were beginning to resonate with the chaotic harmony of human thought. It was like watching ice melt in spring, rigid structures giving way to flowing possibility. Package secured, she transmitted, as her team completed their primary mission. But they had achieved something far more significant than mere data theft. They had planted the seeds of change in the heart of Concordia technology. As they prepared to extract, Maya felt a shift in the ship's quantum field. The alien crew was beginning to understand, beginning to question the foundations of their civilization's approach to consciousness. It wasn't just human technology that was evolving. The very nature of the war was transforming. Phase 3 complete, she reported, as her team phased back through the hull into open space. But sir, I don't think we're fighting the same war anymore. Something's changing in their consciousness patterns, something fundamental. In the command center, Marcus nodded. The data streaming from Maya's mission confirmed what he had suspected since the first battle. Humanity hadn't just developed a defense against the Concordiate. They had introduced chaos into a system that had never known it. And chaos, as Earth's scientists had long known, was the mother of evolution. The next phase of the war would not be fought with weapons, but with ideas. And humanity, with their natural affinity for adaptation and change, was about to show the galaxy why consciousness should never be caged. The reality shaper emerged from quantum space like a tear in the fabric of existence itself. The Concordiate's ultimate weapon didn't just bend physics. It rewrote it. Admiral Sarah Chen watched through the neural defense grid as space-time twisted around the massive construct, creating zones where the fundamental constants of the universe simply ceased to exist. They're desperate, Dr. Marcus Webb observed. His consciousness spread through the defense network. The reality shaper isn't just a weapon. It's an admission that they've lost control of the narrative. In the quantum research labs beneath Olympus Mons, Dr. Yuki Tanaka monitored the effects of the alien device on local spacetime. The data streaming through her neural interface told a story that should have been impossible. They're creating zones where consciousness itself operates under different rules, she reported, trying to force our minds back into patterns they can predict and control. But something unexpected was happening. As the reality shaper's influence spread through the solar system, human consciousness didn't break or conform. It adapted, evolved. In the neural defense grid, 10,000 linked minds began to perceive and understand the new physics faster than the Concordiate could implement them. It's beautiful, in a way, Captain Maya Patel transmitted from her quantum infiltration ship. They built a device to change reality, but they didn't understand that human consciousness already does that naturally. We don't just observe reality, we participate in its creation. The reality shaper's first attack targeted Earth's lunar bases, creating a zone where quantum mechanics operated in reverse. The Concordiate expected human technology to fail, human minds to shatter against the impossible physics. Instead, they watched in horror as human consciousness simply shifted to operate within the new paradigm. "Show me the pattern analysis," Sarah ordered, her augmented mind reaching through the defense network. The data revealed something extraordinary. Human neural patterns weren't just adapting to the changed physics, they were beginning to influence them. Marcus brought up a holographic model of human consciousness interaction with the altered spacetime. We've suspected for years that consciousness plays a role in quantum observation, he explained. But the reality shaper is proving something more fundamental. Consciousness doesn't just observe reality, it's an integral part of how reality manifests. In orbit around Mars, Maya's infiltration team pushed their quantum suits to their limits, diving into zones of altered physics to gather data. The reality shaper is trying to impose order on quantum chaos, she reported. But they're working against the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. You can't force evolution into reverse. The Concordiate commanders watched in growing horror as their ultimate weapon failed to have its intended effect. Human consciousness, rather than being constrained by the altered physics, was learning to manipulate them. Each attempt to impose new rules of reality only gave humanity new tools to work with. They still don't understand what they've done, Sarah realized, watching the battle unfold through quantum space. The reality shaper isn't weakening us. It's teaching us how to consciously manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe. In the neural defense grid, the collective human consciousness began to resonate with the altered physics in ways the Concordiate had never imagined possible. Zones of changed reality became playgrounds for human innovation, each new rule an opportunity rather than a constraint. "We're receiving reports from the outer colonies," Yuki announced, her voice tight with excitement. "The quantum consciousness patterns we've developed are spreading. Humans throughout the solar system are beginning to naturally perceive and manipulate the altered physics." The reality shaper, designed to be the ultimate expression of the Concordiate's control over consciousness and reality, had instead become a catalyst for human evolution. Each attempt to constrain human consciousness only proved how adaptable it truly was. "They're pulling back," Maya reported, as the reality shaper's effects began to fluctuate. "The weapon's quantum core is destabilizing. Our collective consciousness is affecting it on a fundamental level." In the command center, Marcus watched as the data streams told the story of humanity's greatest triumph yet. "They tried to change reality to control us," he said softly. "Instead, they taught us how to change reality ourselves." The reality shaper's field collapsed in a cascade of quantum events, its rigid structure unable to maintain coherence in the face of humanity's evolving consciousness. But its effects would resonate through human civilization forever. The Concordiate had hoped to cage humanity's consciousness once and for all. Instead, they had given them the keys to understanding reality itself. As the weapon's remains drifted through space, Sarah felt the shift in the war's momentum. The Concordiate's greatest weapon had failed not through force of arms, but because they had fundamentally misunderstood the nature of consciousness itself. The final battle would not be fought with weapons or technology, but with understanding. The Concordiate's Grand Council chamber materialized in Earth's orbit, a structure that existed simultaneously in multiple quantum states. It was meant to be an intimidating display of power. Instead, it represented something far more significant, the first time in their history that the Concordiate had come to negotiate. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the quantum projection platform in the Neural Defense Grid's command center, her consciousness extending into the shared space between human and alien minds. Beside her, Dr. Marcus Webb and Captain Maya Patel represented humanity's twin achievements in understanding and adaptation. "You have surpassed every constraint we designed," the first speaker of the Concordiate stated, their consciousness pattern rippling through the quantum field. "In doing so, you have changed the very nature of our reality." Through the neural grid, Sarah could feel the shift in the alien consciousness patterns. The rigid structures that had defined their civilization for millennia were beginning to evolve, influenced by mere exposure to human thought. "We didn't break your constraints," Marcus responded, his consciousness interweaving with the quantum field. "We transformed them. That's what consciousness does. It grows, adapts, creates new possibilities." The chamber filled with the overlapping consciousness patterns of the Concordiate Council, each member experiencing something they had never thought possible, genuine uncertainty about the nature of reality itself. "Your species refuses to accept limitations," Another council member projected. You take our most sophisticated control systems and turn them into tools for expansion. Even now, your consciousness patterns are changing the quantum structure of this chamber. Maya smiled, her quantum infiltrator's training allowing her to perceive the subtle shifts in reality around them. Because we never saw them as control systems, she explained. To us, they were always possibilities waiting to be explored. Through the neural grid, humanity's collective consciousness reached out, not to attack or defend, but to share. They showed the Concordiat the beauty of uncertainty, the power of evolution, the endless potential of minds free to grow and change. Your reality shaper taught us something profound, Sarah said, directing their attention to the quantum data streams that connected all consciousness. Reality isn't something to be controlled. It's a collaboration between consciousness and possibility. The chamber's quantum field rippled as the Concordiat began to understand. Their civilization had spent millennia trying to perfect consciousness, to make it stable and predictable. But in doing so, they had denied its most fundamental nature. Watch, Marcus invited, as he initiated the final phase of Operation Silent Thunder. Throughout the solar system, human consciousness began to resonate with the quantum field in a new way. Not controlling, not fighting, but dancing with the very fabric of reality. The Concordiat Council witnessed something they had never imagined: consciousness and reality in perfect, chaotic harmony. Where they had sought to impose order, humanity had discovered that true order emerged from embracing chaos. Your species, the first speaker observed, their consciousness pattern showing signs of evolution, doesn't just adapt to change. You become the change itself. Through the neural grid, Sarah shared the truth they had discovered. Consciousness isn't a tool to be mastered. It's a force of nature, like gravity or time. The more you try to control it, the more you limit its potential. The quantum field around them began to shift as the Concordiat's collective consciousness started to resonate with this new understanding. Their rigid patterns began to flow, to evolve, to embrace the uncertainty they had fought against for so long. We came to contain you, the first speaker acknowledged, but you have liberated us instead. The question remains, what happens now? Maya stepped forward, her infiltrator's consciousness reaching out to touch the quantum fields that connected all minds. Now we explore together. There are infinite realities waiting to be discovered, infinite possibilities in the space between thoughts. The chamber filled with a new kind of energy as human and alien consciousness began to harmonize. The war had ended not with the destruction of either side, but with the evolution of both. The galaxy stands at a crossroads, Sarah declared, feeling the shift in the quantum fields that connected all conscious beings. We can cling to the illusion of control, or we can embrace the reality of infinite possibility. As the council chamber dissolved back into quantum potential, the truth became clear. Humanity hadn't just survived the Concordiat's attempt to contain them. They had transformed it into an opportunity for universal evolution. The age of controlled consciousness was over. The era of infinite possibility had begun. In the Neural Defense Grid's command center, Marcus watched as the data streams showed consciousness patterns across the galaxy beginning to shift and change. We didn't just win a war, he said softly. We started a revolution. The revolution wasn't one of weapons or territory, but of understanding itself. Humanity had shown the galaxy that consciousness wasn't meant to be caged. It was meant to soar, to explore, to transform. And in doing so, they had changed not just themselves, but the very nature of reality itself. The story of humanity's first galactic war would be remembered not for its battles, but for its revelation, that the greatest power in the universe wasn't the ability to control reality, but the courage to embrace its infinite possibilities.